Edom the Gittite. So right here, David says, okay, we're not going to move the ark any further. And he takes it to the city of David. He's not going to take it up into the city of David, but leaves it with an Edomite. But let's go and examine this. Because what is the city of David? We hear about it, of course, many times in the Tanakh. But let's look at it today geographically. It actually extends past the modern walls of Jerusalem into East Jerusalem. So when the nation's saying that we should give East Jerusalem to the Palestinians, East Jerusalem is the city of David. Well, are you suggesting that we should divide the city of David? That's a tribulation event. We mustn't listen to the nations, because outside the modern walls that we have today, those present walls, East Jerusalem, that is what is being spoken of here as the city of David. We don't want to be dividing Jerusalem. That is an apocalyptic event that you don't want to have anything to do with. Obed-Edom, a servant of Edom. He was an Edomite, but he became a slave of Yahweh. He became an Israelite. Because there is nothing too great for Yahweh. He can take someone from the Arab nations and he can bring them into Israel through covenant. That is our awesome Abba Yahweh. And he's the one that the ark is trusted with. He's the one that is blessed greatly because of it. And let's continue on, that the ark in verse 11 of Yahweh continued in the house of Obed-Edom the Gittite 3 months, and Yahweh blessed Obed-Edom and his entire household. And it was told that Melech David, saying, Yahweh has blessed the house of Obed-Edom. There are so many things that are going on within the Haftarah. And really, what we see at the beginning is there's this dance between two poles, if you will. There's status and there's movement. Status and movement. Status and movement. The ark is moving and then it's stationary for a while. Within the nation, status and movement. Status and movement. And within the royal dynasty of David, status and movement. Ark, nation, and the royal dynasty of David. Let me explain that. You look a little lost, but I think you'll get it. Within the Haftarah, the ark is moving and then it becomes stationary for a while, and great blessing. The nation, they were moving and wandering and wandering and wandering, and now they are going to be planted. Status and movement. The dynasty of David, the kingly realm, they didn't know. Was it going to move? Was it going to move? Was it going to move? But within this Haftarah we see that it becomes stationary, status within the seed, the zerah of the line of David, Jesse. The royal dynasty will no longer wander. It will no longer wander, but it will be planted within the Davidic line. Status and movement. Do you see that theme? There's so many parallelisms. There's a celebration of the dedication of the Mishkan, the tabernacle in the Torah. And then there's the recorded death of Nadab and Abihu in judgment. That's what we saw in the Torah. They were celebrating the Mishkan. They were celebrating they've been set free from Mitzrayim. There's the Mishkan, the tabernacle's erected. And then there is the recorded death of Nadab and Abihu in judgment. But in the Haftarah, there's the recorded death of Uzzah in a similar judgment. And then there's the celebration of the ascent up to Yerushalayim and hopes of a future Beit HaMikdash temple. There's the theme of celebration and judgment. Celebration and judgment in the Torah and in the Haftarah. In the Torah, what did we see? There was the smoky incense. That smoky incense, what did it bring? It brought forth judgment. In the Haftarah, we see the ark. The ark, the gold and beautiful ark, what did it bring? Judgment. But it it's not only judgment. Because in the Torah, the smoky incense brought judgment. But later on in the Torah, what did that smoky incense bring during Korah's rebellion? Atonement. And what do we see? That ark right here, it brings judgment. But what does the ark also bring? Atonement and blessing. Parallelisms. So many parallelisms and deep meanings within the text. And there's a great blessing that ark brings to the house of Obed the Edomite. A great blessing of atonement and protection. There's warnings in the Torah and warnings in the Haftarah. Don't get so caught up in a joyful event that you follow a crowd who err concerning Yahweh's holiness or set apartness. Don't do something in worship which Yahweh hasn't commanded. How many people a few weeks ago were doing something, maybe even just last weekend, doing something in worship that Yahweh has never commanded? The sin of presumption. The sin of presumption. Don't get so caught up in a crowd of people, of hundreds of your brethren that are doing something that are so joyful in their heart that you get caught up in that crowd in the sin of presumption. If Yahweh hasn't commanded it, don't do it in worship. You're under His grace, but there's going to be a time when that grace is drawn back and judgment will go forth. And you don't want to be caught up in a mob judgment. Because Yahweh will always judge His people first. He cleans His house first, then He goes out and cleans the nations. Hebraic chapter 9. He's going to clean His house first. Don't get so caught up in a joyful event that you follow the crowd who err concerning Yahweh's holiness, set apartness. Don't do something in worship which Yahweh hasn't commanded. Isn't that the truth? Isn't that the truth? In verse 14, verse 13, and so it was that when they bore the ark of Yahweh, and it had gone 6 paces, he sacrificed oxen and fatlings. Do you know how many miles they travelled when they decided to bring that ark? 40 miles, and every 6 paces? That's a lot of sacrificing. Every 6 paces for 40 miles. And David danced before Yahweh with all of his might, and David was girded with a linen shoulder garment. So David and Kol Beth Israel, the whole house of Israel, brought up the ark of Yahweh with shouting. You see, the whole house, they've put their divisions aside. Just for a while, the houses, the 2 houses, the 12 tribes, they've put their differences aside for a while. And they're coming together now because of the ark. Hallelujah. They're coming together. And later on, there will be the split of the northern and southern kingdom. But it's the ark. It's the revelation of Yirmiyahu chapter 31 that ark now has been placed within our Levim. And it's the Torah written on our Levim. When that revelation goes forth by the outstretched arm of Yahweh, it's the ark within us, keeping the Torah mitzvot and having the testimony of Moshiach that is going to reunify the 2 houses. Does that make sense? Look at the unity here. Look at the unity. But what did David do? He stripped down before Yahweh and danced. And so many times, theologians will try and explain to you what he was doing and why did he do that? Why did he strip down? Why did he take off his clothes? And later on, his first wife, she criticizes him for such a thing, for undressing in the presence of Yahweh. What was he doing? Dancing. And many a commentator will speculate on this and speculate on that. But what was really happening? David and all of Israel brought up the ark of Yahweh with shouting and with the sound of the shofar. And as the ark of Yahweh came into the city of David, Michal, Saul's daughter, looked through a window and saw King David leaping and dancing before Yahweh, and she despised him in her love. He was leaping, the Hebrew word there, hazaz, meaning his best. He was giving it his best or his all. But why? Why did he strip down before Yahweh? And was that permissible? Well, his critic was judged, and she bore no children until death. Yahweh shined favor upon David for removing his garments before him. But why? Well, why did David strip his robes? Let's turn to 1 Chronicles chapter 22, verse 5.